So in order to give you some context, I'm going to show you where this story takes place in relation to where we are. So we're starting here at Monroe, and we're going to zoom out, all the way out. Look at Chicago from above. It's like any other city, houses, and buildings, until we get all the way out into our country, the United States. And we're going to zoom over to Europe. And in Europe, you're probably going to recognize a lot of our countries we've studied. You'll see Poland, which is going to be right in the center there. And then Germany is going to be off to the left. The Czech Republic, where Hitler was able to take land without even fighting, right below. And now we zoom down into Sosnowiec. Sosnowiec is where a lot of this story takes place. And what I want you to notice is how similar it looks from above to Chicago. This is a town like any other town, normal people, normal houses, living normal lives. This is Sosnowiec today. This is the old neighborhood called Stary Sosnowiec. Obviously a lot has changed, probably a lot less farmland, more developed, but very similar in many ways to the neighborhood we live in. I was able to visit Sosnowiec and other parts of Poland in the summer of 2017, and these are just some of my observations, some of the video I took so that you could see the place where MAUS happened. I'm standing on the streets in Sosnowiec, or Sosnowiec as we sometimes say. This is where Wladek and Anya meet, fall in love, get married. And there's not much here that probably looks the same. Maybe this house behind me is similar to the style pre-World War II, but a lot of it's been changed. You can see more modern houses. You can see it's, buildings that have been built since the World War. But the thought that I keep thinking about as I walk these streets is, did they ever see it coming? This is pretty much a normal neighborhood. There are some remnants of the war, but for the most part you can see this is just normal neighborhood, kids walking around, people living their lives. And I just wonder if they ever thought something like the Holocaust could have happened to them. Sosnowiec today is an unimpressive little town. There's really no reason a tourist would visit. In fact, I was probably the only American there at all. In Wladek's time, Sosnowiec would have looked much different. Still the same old trams running through the center of the road, now surrounded by cars, of course. But the Jewish community there was large and vibrant. There were productive factories, and people like Wladek and his family, were able to make a decent living. Today, walking around Sosnowiec, you will see a very normal village. Some nice homes, a lot of old dilapidated ones, churches, schools, daycares, and people going about just their everyday lives. I'm walking in a park in Sosnowiec, and across the street from me there are houses that look like they're newer, although there is this one that's made of old brick, and perhaps the others are just stuccoed over. But this is the neighborhood that half of MAUS 1 happens in and takes place there. And it's very small, it's very quaint. There's not a lot going on here. I think at the time there probably weren't large apartment buildings like this. I'll try to get some video of some of the older houses in the neighborhood, so maybe we can have a sense of what kind of house the Zielberbergs, Anya's family, lived in. They were quite wealthy, and so it would have been one of the nicer, bigger houses, I'm imagining. most of the city does not look probably like it did during World War II. A lot of the buildings are new, and a lot of the old ones are falling apart. There are a few parts of town which look similar. You see the brick streets and kind of the older style buildings. These may be what it looked like during Wadek's time. Walking through the city, it's kind of hard to believe this was ever a very influential or busy town. I think it was probably always a small town, but things have really fallen apart. I mean, like, look at these buildings. A lot of them are just in disrepair, and a lot of that is probably remnants of World War II. I mean, this was a very Jewish city. There were a lot of Jewish people that lived here, and when they leave, or when they get taken out, there's no one left to take care of the buildings, there's no one left to look after the city, really, and to invest in it. And so I'm guessing after World War II, this city really started to go downhill. It's really not that nice of a place. It's kind of a small, impoverished city. It's not terrible, but it's not that nice either. Example of another building that's sort of in poor repair. Not only was World War II devastating, but for years after the war, Poland was under the control of the Soviet Union, known for its large, ugly, gray buildings. There's a lot of old character to Sosnowiec. Perhaps I was a bit harsh in my original take on it, but there's also just a lot of the Soviet influence there, and you can see it in these large, plain, ugly buildings that dwarf any remnants of homes from Wadek's time. So pre-World War II, I'm sure it had more of a village feel. Now, Sosnowiec has the feel of a suburb of larger cities, and it's got these ugly, large, gray apartment blocks scattered throughout it. Sosnowiec was and is a very normal seeming town. But if the Jews during Wadek's time had known what was coming, they would have gotten out of there as quickly as possible.